How you doing, YouTube? It's Will from Will Development. It's my 303rd weekly update. So, it was all in all a very good week, I would say. Started off a little slow. 4th of July, eating a bunch of foods I don't normally eat. And things like barbecue and stuff like that. And then essentially eating those same foods throughout the week because I had a bit of leftovers. Put me on a bit of a track where I was just feeling a little lethargic throughout the beginning of the week there, and took me till about Wednesday or Thursday to finally start feeling around normal. Still don't feel 100%, but we're getting there, so it's okay. It's definitely okay. Let's see. Monday, squats and deadlifts. What did I do? I think I just worked up to singles with 225, beltless on squats for a number of singles. Ass to grass, they felt good. I felt pretty strong doing them. There was only a couple of them where I actually got out of position at any moment, so definitely call that a win. And just worked up singles all the way up to 395 on deadlift for a pretty easy single. And then Tuesday, pressing, did like 3 or 4 sets of 4 at 155, I think, for strict press. And those felt pretty good. Then it took me like 4 tries to finally hit my 195. I was just feeling slow, feeling weak. It took me a lot of tries to actually hit that 195. And then I sort of realized, okay, I need to start tightening my belt down an extra inch more than I normally wear it for overhead, because I've basically found that once I'm overhead with anything, and I wear my belt, once I start wearing my belt, I don't take it off until I'm done with that particular movement. And it's just one of those things I picked up from Sebastian Oreb, who's Hafthor Bjornsson's strength coach. And it's one of those things where it's like he says it keeps you mentally focused and make sure you sort of stay in it. And I never wear my belt to the point where I can't breathe anyway. And even that extra inch, it's a little bit tighter obviously, but I can still breathe normally, but I find my bracing is a little bit stronger that way. But things like squats and deadlifts, I still use my normal whole whatever placement that is. But on squats and deadlifts, I always just keep it there no matter what I'm doing. But then on overhead, I found that I have to go that extra little inch smaller, and that seems to keep me a lot more rigid. I find my ability to brace against it a lot better. So with that in mind, Wednesday off, Thursday, squats and deadlifts again. This time I was working up to heavy singles, and I ended up doing like 5 singles at 275. Hit a beltless one at 240, beltless. Then I threw the belt on and went up to 275, and felt good doing it all the way. There was only one rep where I was like, ooh, got a little out of position, felt my hip kind of flare up a little bit. But it didn't knock me down to the point where I was in real bad pain, so that's good. It's a good thing. And then deadlifts, I ended up doing a worked up and did set of 3 at 365. Pulled my single at 395, then went back down and did another set of 3 at 365. Wanted to get a little more rep work in. Since I was like, I've been doing singles a lot lately, I want to do just a little bit of rep work with a little bit moderate weight. So, and those went well. And then tonight did some pressing again, axle pressing. Did 2 sets of 2 at 160 strict. And then did my single at 195. Push press. And I did it on the first try, which felt really good. It got dicey, but again, now that I've realized I need to just tighten that belt up a little bit, things have been working out a lot better for me on the overhead. So feeling a lot more rigid and a lot more just strong in general throughout that movement after doing that. So, and that kind of leads me into one thing I think I'll talk about, where normally people tighten the belt to the point where they're almost crushing themselves with the belt, which is actually taking away from what it's supposed to be for, which is basically giving you something to press your muscles against. The idea being that, generally speaking, you're always going to push and push your muscles stronger or more strongly against something. For instance, if you were to just sort of flex your tricep just to flex it, you can probably get a stronger contraction if you're flexing against something. So if you just sit there and you just flex it, that's one thing. But if you're against a wall and you start flexing, and now all of a sudden it's pushing a little bit more. And that's sort of what a belt, the idea behind a belt is. Gives you something to actually brace against, and therefore you can be more rigid, and more rigid means more power transfer from the legs through the torso and into whatever, Everything comes from the hips, but, well, I guess really everything comes from the floor, but if you can ground well, which it's usually not that challenging to get people to ground well, then the next weak point is going to be your abdominals, because you've got your ribs up here keeping you pretty damn rigid. They are flexible to a point, but your spine is also super flexible, so you need those muscles around your core to keep you nice and rigid. That way the power can transfer from your feet to your knees, to your hips, to your torso, and then if you're pushing overhead, then to your arms, essentially, or to the bar. Because if you're push pressing, generally speaking, it's going to be better if you can rest the bar sort of in a rack position on your collarbone, because then that power transfer is going straight through into something instead of going from here to here to here to here and then to the bar, So the less places you can lose power, the stronger you're going to be. Duh. Well, I say duh, maybe it's not that obvious, but it's pretty obvious. So that's, don't always wear your belt too tight, but, every once in a while, maybe on certain movements, you may find that you have to wear your belt just a little bit tighter in order to perform your best. So with that new knowledge in mind, I'm looking forward to putting up some better numbers here on the push press. Probably going to start pushing 200 again pretty consistently. Starting next week, I'll give that a shot. Since I can consistently hit 195. Deadlift, I'm sticking with 395 for a little bit longer. And squats, I'm looking forward to hitting 315 again pretty soon here. The 295 was easy. It was nothing challenging, and I was able to keep good positioning throughout the entire movement. And like I said, there was only one rep where I was like, ooh, just slightly put this in the wrong spot, and that sort of, flared up my hip again. So I'm going to be on the lookout for that, keep my eyes open, but things are definitely looking up. Oh, other good news, I had some time on Wednesday and started putting together footage and editing footage for the stone experiment. So that's exciting. Going to work on editing that. Once I get that all edited, I'll put it up and I'll upload it, and I'll just keep it private until I get the masterclass series basically done. The plan is almost to have both of them uploaded before I actually release them, just so I make sure it's up to the quality, because when it takes so long on particular projects, I want them to be the best that they can possibly be. So in the meantime, keep looking forward to the weekly updates. I'm going to attempt to start getting more footage again so I can get my 2 videos back up and running, get back into the habit of that and following those. As well as I do have a couple of reviews I am planning on doing. I still have to actually shoot the one review, and then one review I shot years ago and then sort of axed it because I was on a particular shoe and the shoe was no longer in production, but now the shoes are in production again. So I'll probably bring that review back up from, I think it was like 2 years ago when I actually filmed it, and I just never did it because it didn't exist anymore, so I didn't see a point in reviewing it. You know, if you can't get your hands on it, why even talk about it? And then I'll do a review on my Pioneer Cut 13 mil belt that I've had for a year and a half now. Short review is it's awesome. It's great. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. It's held up through everything I've put it through, and it shows no signs of wearing down, and it's getting this really nice patina from my sweat and the dirt, and it just keeps looking better with age. It's like a fine wine. So look forward to all that, and don't wear your belt too tight, but sometimes wear a little tighter. Never be afraid to adjust things just slightly, because you never know how much they might actually help. Yeah, that's good. And if you are, yeah, then what's your excuse?